Oh, the streets are cold and gray, but the fire in our hearts won't stray from the pitch where dreams collide. We'll stand together side by side. Oh, when the Spurs go marching in, when the Spurs go marching in, I wanna be there in that number. Oh, when the Spurs go marching in, from the north to Wembley's light, under stars we own the night. With
Hello, welcome back to Project Spurs. We haven't been all together for what feels like ages, but we are back together, the four of us, and then our resident Brummy Spurs fan will be joining us in the next 5-10 minutes. He has just finished work. Don't know what he does for a living, but he's just finished, and he's going to be joining us shortly to give us his opinion and thoughts on all things Tottenham related at the moment. The big news, obviously, is the incoming or pending appointment of Roberto De Zerbi as the new Tottenham Hotspur manager. Where we are at the moment, because we haven't gone live for the last week. Unfortunately, I was under the weather, so didn't fancy doing a podcast, but we are back today. Where things are, it stands. On Sunday, Tottenham and Igor Tudor mutually parted ways. This follows 7 games in charge of the club. The Tottenham Hotspur announced yesterday across social media and their website, we thank Igor, Tavislav and Ricardo for their efforts during the past 6 weeks, in which they worked tirelessly. We acknowledge the bereavement that Igor has recently suffered and send our support to him and his family during this difficult time. An update on a new head coach would be provided in due course. That due course has come almost 24 hours later. Many of the game's leading football journalists have confirmed that Tottenham's number one target is and has been Roberto De Zerbi. The Italian recently left his position as head coach of Marseille due to mutual consent, and a return to the Premier League has always been seen as a possibility. But that possibility always looked to be in the summer. Reports today and late last night from Di Marzio and Fabrizio Romero, and even more, have all confirmed that Tottenham have offered Roberto De Zerbi a 5-year bumper contract to join the club. And, now with the hope of him as saving us from relegation. Just to look at Roberto De Zerbi's last 2 appointments. He's lasted 1 year and 9 months at Brighton, lasted 1 year, 7 months at Marseille. So obviously it makes absolute total sense that Tottenham offer him a 5-year contract. Roberto De Zerbi is one of football's maverick managers in an age where set pieces and fine margins are becoming the main way to win. He would still rather emerge as victor by playing away with swagger, some would say a Tottenham way, that should, in theory, marry up to a lot of the way that the Tottenham fans want to see from their manager. So, lads, we will get into Igor Tudor, we will get into Roberto De Zerbi, and I'm sure we'll get into other elements around the club. But first of all, Cal, how was your weekend? There was no Tottenham, but there was England. Did you watch the England game?
No, I still stand by it. I don't watch any England games unless it's a World Cup or Euros. Anything else can leave me alone, because it is just the typical stuff with Arsenal, where they somehow manage to fill the squad out and then leave the squad halfway through it. So, yeah, weekend was all right. England were rubbish. And now we're back to Tottenham when we thought we had a 3-week break with some mental therapy not needed. So here we are, mate.
I thought there might be something coming. I think we all, and I probably speak for all of you on this, is that we all thought that Igor Tudor would have gone straight away after Nottingham Forest game. However, there obviously is clear sensitivity around the fact that fortunately he lost his dad during the game. And was obviously told straight after, and all credit to him immediately going back. And I think the biggest credit to him really is that he's walked away and without any payment bowl accounts either, and shows, I guess, the sort of character he is and the man he is, and that it didn't work for him at the club. I wish him the best. There was one person in the five of us that said from day one it isn't going to work. We will get onto that as we get on into the show. But Phil, did you watch much international football over the weekend, or are you like Cal, it's just not for you?
Nah, I'm the same as Cal, to be honest. I remember when I was a bit younger, I used to try and watch every single England game, qualifiers, friendlies, whatever. But at some point, I just got bored with it. Find a lot of the England friendlies are just going through the motions. And as Cal said, like some of the players pull out. And, it's just, I've wasted so many hours, to be honest, in my life watching bad England games. So I actually, tend to watch the Europeans and the World Cups now only. So no, I didn't spend any time. I didn't watch the Germany game either, although it was a very good game. They beat Switzerland 4-3, I think. That was it really. Weather was crap, but there was no Spurs. And I was just kind of constantly refreshing X really to try and see if there was any update on the Igor Tudor situation. But yeah, as you said yourself, I think they timed it now with the funeral of, Igor's father and all that. And he goes in good terms, doesn't he? Really, he goes well away from the club, I think. And I feel a bit sorry for Igor, to be honest. I mean, don't blame him for taking the job, but it was probably more than he expected as well. To be honest, I think he didn't expect it to be quite as intense and probably quite as hard, from all angles. Like when he said yes, and now he can go away with his family and grieve, obviously, but probably take a bit of time away from the game,
Yeah.
We can move as well.
We'll obviously cover that in more detail later on, and we'll get into Tudor and obviously the Roberto Zerbi. But Joseph, we were speaking before we came on. You didn't watch the England game either. I watched it. I found it incredibly boring, if I'm honest. I did watch the USA game, and I thought they were absolutely dreadful in the second half. Awful in the second half, and they got booed off, I think, in the first half. And I missed the first half. But international football for me, and you said it before we came in, you only really like the Euros and the World Cup. I'm in massively agreement with that. Unless it's those things, I just can't get into it.
I think one of the big problems as well is England has such high expectations and always seems to let you down. So it's hard to really fully get behind them, especially on these games that don't really feel like they matter. And then when we get to the tournaments, I mean, the one thing I've always noticed, especially even when we played Spain in the Euros final, Spain play like a club. They play like a team of players that play with each other all the time. And when England play, it feels like they're just throwing stars onto a pitch and expecting them to link up well and to play good football when none of them seem to know what anyone wants to do. And I mean, I'm going to be going into this World Cup with really little kind of knowledge on how England are going to play, how they're going to set up, who's going to be starting, who won't be. There's a big kind of conversation around that with the amount of talented players England have with Bellingham, Foden, Palmer, Saka. Not all of them are going to be able to play. Somebody's going to have to be on the bench. So it will be very interesting to see how they set up. Again, I'm excited for the World Cup. I think everyone is. It's a shame it's in America, but I think everyone is somewhat excited for a World Cup, like we were previously with the Euros and before that in Qatar. It's always exciting. You never know what's going to happen. And England should be going into it thinking they can win it. It's just, are we going to be let down like we have in the past? And again, usually, like you said, English and international football can be very disappointing. It can be really, really poor, especially being an England fan. So yeah, we'll see how it goes at the World Cup. I won't be tuning into the other friendly. I won't be tuning into any of those games until we get to the World Cup.
No, I think I'm definitely in the same agreement. I don't think I'm going to watch any of those either. Actually, I gave this game a chance, and it was poor. I mean, it was dead as well, quiet at Wembley. It was really, really quiet. So it's a shame, really.
I remember it used to be that. It used to be, though, like when there was an England game, everyone was up for it. Even if it was a friendly, like it was always sold out really quickly. Everyone wanted to go to these games. No one cares about it anymore. No one does. No one seems to care about these international games.
I think
I used to go with the school. the school used to take us. We used to go as our, I don't know why, but it would be at obviously it'd be at Wembley, but the school used to take me, and I used to love going. But that was like Beckham, Shearer, Sheringham, Scholes, Anderton, Seaman in goal, and we had a decent team. This would have been the 90s. This would have probably been Euros, 97, 98, 99, that type of team, and there was a different feel about international football then. Now it kind of feels like it's like a hindrance.
It's also the rise of the Premier League, I think, and the rise of social media, money in football. In the early 90s, late 80s, and as you said, when you went with your school, I used to go in my school as well.
Yeah.
And that would have been 91, 92. I think we started going there. So just before Euro 92, Lineker was still playing, Gaza, all those peeps. And it was different. It was more excitement. Also in the old Wembley, by the way. The old Wembley was obviously a complete relic and like an antique cavern. But I'll tell you what, it was louder than the new Wembley, and it was still something special to see those twin towers back in the day. And nowadays, going to an England friendly at Wembley, as Joseph said as well, I don't know, if you got obviously if you're taking your kids and stuff there, then it's a nice day out, isn't it still? But it hasn't got the allure that it used to, for sure. But I think I blame the Premier League and the rise of kind of, global football and the Champions League and money and Twitter.
I think one thing I find really interesting as well is, like, when I've talked to my friends about, we're all football fans, but when we talk about international football, I think a lot of them prefer club football and prefer their clubs than England. I've got one of my mates who's an Arsenal fan. All of these Arsenal players have come out injured. Obviously, they're not. They're just kind of getting out of playing international football. He's happy about it. He doesn't care about international football one bit. He cares about Arsenal and he wants Arsenal to win. He doesn't care about what England do. I don't know. I mean, I might be in the minority here, but personally, I'd rather see England win a World Cup than Tottenham. I know this is a Tottenham podcast, but like in terms of Tottenham winning things, I'm quite patriotic in the sense I want to go see England win. And I don't think that is common ground for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are so much more loyal to their club than they are to their country at the moment. So I don't know if that's kind of a commentary on football and maybe a wider conversation about how people feel about international football, but it feels like it's going that way now. I think football fans are so much more deep rooted with their club than they are their country, that people just can't be bothered with international football.
I think it is. I think that Phil was saying, social media, podcasts,
content on demand.
You're so much more in
depth. You can choose. Sorry, Gary, but you can choose what you want to watch nowadays.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can go on YouTube. You can go on Netflix. You can go and watch games back on replay. Whereas in the old days, you couldn't. You
and
had
also,
to be explicit.
I think the biggest element is, like, we're going to sit here today and probably talk about the ownership of the football club, the director of football, the sporting director, the technical director, the under-21 manager, the under-18 manager. Now, growing up, I didn't even know who owned Tottenham. It didn't even, obviously it's Alan Sugar, but I didn't care. It didn't make any difference to me. Now it's we care about the profit and loss, and we care more about the money being spent, and we look at things so much more in depth. I think that the fandom in the Premier League or in your home club or whatever it is, however you determine, is so large that England have probably taken a little bit backseat, and the fact that we are consistently being let down at major tournaments probably doesn't help either. But enough talk about England, because we do have to come on to Tottenham. Obviously, the talk of the town at the moment is Roberto De Zerbi. Now, before we do get into Roberto De Zerbi, I do want to go around and just ask everybody their opinion, starting with you, Cal. Initial thoughts on the mutual termination with Igor Tudor.
I think it was the best for everyone, to be honest. It's like you referenced earlier that Igor's dad passing away was definitely not a nice moment for him. And we've had that in the past with different staff members dying, like under Conte, and Conte having his own family members pass away. So we're not adverse to that. I think we did the human choice. And the human choice was to allow him to go and have his time, because you can't expect someone to come back from that the same person. It's just not realistic. So I think that no matter what we think about his football, it is the best choice, the human choice. It's the nicest way possible to say, thank you, Igor. It hasn't worked. Go and be with your family. Do what you need to do realistically in life.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I think it was clearly the right decision. To be honest, I thought it was the right decision potentially after Liverpool. I just couldn't see it. And I know there was a slight reaction there, but I couldn't see it. But we're going to bring in our resident Brummy Spurs fan who joins us back on the channel. He is suited and booted. I reckon he wears that to work because that seems to be a crisp white tie, white shirt every time he comes on this podcast or any other podcast you see him on. We were just starting to get into things about Tudor and Roberto De Zerbi and probably speak about Poch and all the other things. But so how was your weekend? Did you watch any football, any international stuff? Because most of us didn't. Well, we did, but we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, to be honest, I just stayed away from football altogether over the whole weekend. To be fair, I just thought I'm just going to forget about football. Couple of beers, and
no,
just
surely not.
Weekend.
Surely not you and beer. So.
Pisshead.
Si likes a beer. If you meet Si at a game, be very aware of or you might get dragged to the bar. Despite saying, Si, I don't drink alcohol. Yeah, come on. Si, I don't drink alcohol. Come on, Si.
He is a very lovable drunk. He gets very cuddly though. He's a very cuddly person.
Cuddle, if you want to cuddle, Si's your man. But Joseph, just coming to you on Igor Tudor. As I said, I think it was the right time. I thought it should have come after Liverpool. Personally, I think we should have tried to get a new manager bounce for Forest because I felt Forest was so important, and we obviously know how awful the Forest performance was, quite frankly. But given the situation he's in and losing his father, I believe it was the right thing to do. He's clearly walking away. However, you were one of very few from day one that said that this wouldn't work with Igor Tudor.
Yeah. No, I mean, I again, obviously being a Juventus fan as well and watching them kind of as he was transitioning from Thiago Motta to Igor Tudor, I could see what he was doing. And he did well in the first couple of months, kind of pushing them up the league table, which was expected. Juventus were very much underperforming when he was there, and he got them to a spot where they should have been. With the likes of Colomwani and others. But, going into that second season where they kept him on after he was an interim, they kept him on. And that second season, at the start of this season, he was really, really poor. Juventus didn't play good football. They were struggling to get any goals, any kind of, creating any chances. And that's after signing the likes of Lois Openda, Jonathan David. A lot of forward players came into that team and they didn't improve at all in terms of scoring goals. And since he's gone, Spalletti's got them playing much better football. So I didn't feel confident that he was going to come in and make a difference. And more so because of the situation Tottenham find themselves in, where the amount of injuries, the situation at the club is so dire that, you're expecting a man to come in who has no experience of the Premier League and to just try and fix a situation. One man, it's not going to happen. And it's very rarely going to happen, especially at Spurs where, there's so many cogs in this kind of machine and it seems like all of them are broken. So, it was, I'm not too surprised that he was, not doing great. For me, I thought, the Liverpool game was good to see with the point that we got there, as well as the Atletico Madrid game. I thought we played really well. It was one of our best performances of the year. And I was kind of hoping that, we could take some of that confidence into the Nottingham Forest game, but we just fell flat on our face. And, there was really no positives to take from the game at all against Forest. So it made sense he was going to go. Again, it was a very sensitive moment for him, obviously, with his dad passing. Rest in peace, condolences to him and his family, because that's such a tough situation for him. And, you know, some things are bigger than football, and he needed to take that time away, and that's completely fair. And I think, you know, we've come to the right decision for both him, I'm sure, and for the club to kind of have that mutual termination of the contract and to kind of go their separate ways. But, you know, let's be honest, Igor Tudor won't really be remembered much as a Tottenham manager. He was here for a couple of weeks, really, and unfortunately, he didn't get much out of the team at all. So it's a real shame. We've got to go again. It's just what is going to happen next. Obviously, it looks like we know where we're going next. Is it the right decision, though? I mean, we'll get into that conversation. But I mean, all the best for Igor. Hopefully, he can be all right, and hopefully, you know, again, hopefully, we see him in football again, because I like him as a person. You know, from all of his interviews as well, he seems like a real professional. He seems like a really good bloke. Like, I know there was a couple of moments where, you know, we're like, oh, what happened with Kinski, all of this stuff. But overall, I think he displayed himself really well for a manager who never managed in the Premier League. The scrutiny of being manager of Tottenham Hotspur is massive. And I thought he dealt with a lot of that really well. So seems like a great character, and hopefully he'll do well with the rest of his career.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. It might be the case he probably goes into a lower level club within the leagues, but I'll be interested to see where he does and what he does and where he goes. Quite interested by that. But I think I shared as well quite early on in his tenure. It might have been when he was announced, because we had our Italian football friend, that he said, and I shared the information, that don't be surprised if he was to get sacked in April. Well, he's beaten that by 3 days. Albeit it is a sacking, but they're just keeping him. They're saying mutual, I guess, that to be respectful, I think, is probably the best way to say it. But yeah, he's beaten that prediction by 3 days. He wasn't right, and we all know that, and we all tried to back him, me included. If anything, I think he accelerated the decline rather than put any sort of stopgap on it.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that he's left a style or anything at our football club, really. Fair play to Joseph, saying from day one that he wasn't right. You know, I thought he'd come in and galvanise the team, going hard on them. We just didn't see any uplift in performances, results. Bar, like we said, I mean, the second half against Liverpool showed a bit of promise. Obviously, the second leg against Atletico, we looked good. But then from looking like that, he went and dropped Simmons for the Forest game after we possibly had our best game against Atletico Madrid. I just think over the period of time, he just never knew what his best 11 was, where he didn't know who was the best player in the specific position, playing Pedro, right centre-back. And, you know, I wish him all the best. You know, it's bad what happened, obviously, with his father. But, you know, upwards and onwards for us as a football club now. And we just got to get behind whoever comes in charge, whether we like them or not. Because at the end of the day, this football club is bigger than any of us. Any manager that comes in, it'll hopefully be here for a long time, past when we're here. So, you know, we just got to get. We just can't get relegated. Full stop.
No. Phil, just coming to you finally on Igor Tudor and the mutual separation. For me, I'm very much like so. I felt like, if anything, he was trying to do like a mini pre-season in terms of he just didn't know what the formation, what players needed to play where, and that really come down to not understanding the league, but not understanding the club, and that's what we needed from an interim manager, and that's why there was so much calls for. I know Harry and Glenn and Ryan Mason and all those people, because they understand the league and the players. To be fair, Roberto De Zerbi will understand the players, the people that we've got, and the league. And Igor just clearly didn't. He just never really felt like he had a set way and a consistent way. It was kind of all chopping and churning, right?
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't know from day one what his best players were. He didn't play enough, you know, or put enough round holes. You know, like he just tried different things the whole time. Wasn't enough consistency. You know, he tried playing the back three, then obviously going back to a back four, and then kind of trying this hybrid back three, back four thing. You know, kind of changing. He made those weird decisions with Sousa playing kind of right wing. You know, and then obviously the Porro Spence kind of positioning, Dragusin, Porro playing at right centre back. Xavi not really getting a chance in a lot of games, you know. And when we hired him, was it 6 weeks he was here, pretty much 7 weeks, you know. At that point, again, I think we did need someone who, had some connection at least to British football, even, or to the Premier League, especially if possible, or to the club. You know, he needed a certain amount of games or weeks to kind of get up to speed, and that's something that we don't have. You know, we weren't an experimentation project at that point, and we aren't an experimentation project. So he didn't really hit the ground running in terms of just, you know, settling on a back four, you know, in a midfield. A bit of the way through, he kind of did a bit. You know, he kind of found that Sarr and Gray worked in midfield. You know, he kind of, you know, he started playing Tell, didn't he? Regularly, and Tell actually was performing well. Solanke obviously came back as well and started hitting the ground. Richarlison gave a couple of good games, including Liverpool. But like, in all honesty, the fact is he got one point in 6 or 7 games. And obviously the Champions League win. But arguably the Champions League win, you know, did come in a game where we weren't really under pressure. You know, the players, I think, knew that they could kind of go out there and play without pressure, which they did. Atletico didn't really play that well. They didn't press us high. You know, and to be fair, we've played well in the Champions League this season, haven't we? You know, even under Thomas Frank. You know, Xavi's had his best games in the Champions League. You and me went to the Dortmund game, didn't we, together, where we sat there and, you know, we watched the first half, which was kind of like fantasy football almost, it seemed, right in the stadium at that point, having watched Frank ball, you know, for the months before that. So in Europe, we have played different generally. But yeah, look, you know, in the end, his record just means really that he can't continue. And probably the Liverpool game, getting that point at the end. And look, we did play well in that second half, right? We could have scored more than one. Liverpool could have scored more as well if they actually, you know, could have played well in their front final third. They were awful in the final third, right? They were just missing that final ball. But like that point papered over the cracks, I think, really, and it gave him extra. If we'd lost that game, if we hadn't equalised at the end there, with, you know, in the last minute, really, then I think he would have been fired. I think he would have gone. Straight before the Atletico game, right? He would have gone then, and that point kind of saved him a bit. And then, of course, winning the Atletico return game. And anyways, Forest, you know, I mean, on reflection, you know, I know after the Atleti game and after Liverpool, you know, again, I've been guilty of it this season. You know, I wanted to believe that Thomas Frank would work. You know, so I was looking at the positives, and when we had those little games, you know, where we played well, like in the Champions League, like I jumped on it and I made like bullet points. You know, this is the progress that we're making under Frank. I did the same after that, after the Liverpool game and after the one Atletico game with Igor. You know, and tried to look at the positives, right? Assuming
I think we all do that. That's just natural, isn't it? All of us are going to try and look for positives in something, and because we want it to work so badly.
I think you have to as well, because for me, again, what I didn't want was I didn't want to have to make a managerial change. I didn't want to have to go through that, you know, stress and, you know, the kind of high and the lows around that, you know, and then the hope again and everything that comes with that. So I was hoping it would work out, but it was clear that, you know, it didn't. It was clear that it didn't. You know, the Forest game probably wasn't a 3-0. You know, in terms of like the overall game, you know, we played well in the first half, but we just disintegrated, you know, and we made strange subs. The subs didn't work. The tactics were weird. And look, at the end, as I said, 1 point in X amount of games, 6, 7 games, it's not enough. And you could see and you could tell, I think, in the end that the players were not all on board with it either. You know, Igor was frustrated. And then, you know, as I said, you know, condolences, obviously, to him and his family, because to lose any family member at the best of times is obviously a tragic thing. But to be literally told that, you know, your father's passed away during the game, essentially, you know, and then to lose 3-0 is just absolutely awful on top of that. And I think, as Joseph said,
to know you're already under pressure, know that probably a loss here, you're going to lose your job anyway. To have that, then your father passes away, and then all the stuff before it, you know, 15 to 20,000 people, me, Callum, and Si stood together, and Si's little boy are just cheering them in as they come in. And I kept saying to Callum, what did I keep saying to you, Cal? They better win.
Yeah, if they don't win, how does this not get them up for it? And turns out that it counted for Jackal. That's what it counted for. And we looked like the biggest bunch of mugs in the world, didn't we? Every other fan ripped us for days. I just came off social media. I was just like,
I had to turn the notifications off of TikTok, because all I do now is just filming them at the game. I'm not making videos as much, but I had to turn the notifications off. It was just constant being hammered, and it's like, and I said this to you both, didn't I? I said, if we don't get a result, we're gonna look like absolute idiots. And if this can't motivate the players to get a reaction, I genuinely say I don't know what can.
Yeah, that's what we said, didn't we? But what it was, I mean, when I got home the next few days, I showed people local to me, like West Brom supported them, and they went, "You did all that for just a Premier League game?" I went, "Yeah." They went, "That looked like a cup final win."
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
thing is, you've even seen like corners of the internet being sympathetic, going, "This is what all the Tottenham fans will do for the club, and that's what the team will do for them." Like, I don't even know if that's better than people taking the piss. It's just, it feels just literally after that game. That was the first time I was just at a loss for words. I just had no idea what to say. Like, I was so up for it. Like, for the first time in ages, because you guys know how pessimistic I am. For the first time in ages, I was so up for the game. And for it to end like that, I was literally sitting there and I just had nothing to say. And my dad comes in and he watches the games, but he's thought that we're going to get relegated for months now. He's been feeling it for a long, long time. And he's been somewhat right, I guess. But he just came in and, like, usually we'll sit there and have a chat. We just didn't talk. We didn't talk. We just were sitting there looking at it like in disbelief. And after that game, I think every Spurs fan felt that. We're just like, all of this, everything we're trying to do, everything that we love is being completely and utterly broken and lost. And it's like, where do we go now? What happens now? And I think we're still, some of us are trying to find that hope still. You know, I'm really struggling with it. I don't believe we're going to stay up at this moment. And it's so hard to see where it's going to come from, especially after that result and that game.
It was just the whole day about it, wasn't it?
As a fan base, we couldn't do much more than what we did.
But the thing was,
it was unbelievable.
We was on a high and we was reduced to a TalkSport ad afterwards. That's how bad it was. I mean, I know me and Gary listened to it on the way back from the game, and it was just turgid crap. We were getting ripped from every left, right, and centre, and not one fan could justify anything about it.
No. You can't go to all that length. 20,000 people stood out there cheering them on. You get in the stadium and they lose 3-0. It didn't even look like they were going to do anything. It was a mess. But look, it is over. It is something to move on. While we were on air, it has been, Fabrizio Romano has, and I know that a lot of people don't particularly appreciate Fabrizio Romano as much now, but he has been speaking and said Roberto De Zerbi is very close to becoming the new Tottenham Hotspur head coach. Here we go is expected soon. There's hope for the people that don't want Roberto De Zerbi. It's a Morgan Gibbs-White, here we go, and it actually doesn't happen. but for those individuals, and I'm sure there's a couple sitting in between the five of us. It could be the five of us. Who knows? We'll reveal all shortly. But as I say, Roberto De Zerbi is set to become the new Tottenham Hotspur manager on a 5-year contract. It's also understood that he is currently working with Tottenham to bring in his staff. Cal, I'm going to come to you. 7 games left. We need at least 3 wins to secure Premier League survival. 2 of those wins, in my opinion, need to come from Leeds and Wolves. They're in and around us. Does the impending appointment of Roberto De Zerbi fill you with much confidence it's going to provide stability that we need, but also the results?
Unfortunately, I am one of them who doesn't get excited by De Zerbi. I don't see the appeal of him as a manager. And when you look at how he's been coming into clubs mid-season or in certain points of the season, the results don't tell a good truth. They show draws and they show losses. He plays exciting football, do not get me wrong, but it's a time progression part, and realistically we haven't played exciting football in big parts for this season. Our fitness is not there for his game either. We need to get, like you say, the points against Wolves and Leeds, and his record isn't actually great against lower opposition within the Premier League as well. So definitely one that I'm keeping my distance on. He wasn't my first choice. I don't know why he was the Chuckle Brothers' first choice, but definitely leaves a lot to be desired for me, I'm afraid, mate.
Yeah, I'm probably in agreement. He wasn't my first, second, third. It probably wasn't even my top 10 of choices. There is a number of reasons for that. I don't understand the appeal. There was some nice football at Brighton. Got them in the cusp of Europe, didn't he? And then fell out with the ownership. And Brighton are an incredibly well-run outfit. I don't know how you can potentially fall out there, but he did. Goes to Marseille, again falls out there. Don't particularly like the attitude towards certain individuals or players and screaming and shouting them in changing rooms, telling them they need to leave and to call their agents. It just doesn't sit very well with me. It's not someone I want as a spearhead of my club that to be seen doing that. It's for me. Biggest problem, as I said right at the beginning of the show, 1 year, 9 months with Brighton, 1 year, 7 months with Marseille. It doesn't, and he's a volatile individual where he does fall out with ownership. I can't see in any world that this doesn't end in 12 to 18 months again with him falling out with a board and an ownership that are known for not backing a manager to the hill. They are known for this. Why they believe that they could go and get him and it would work screams desperation. It screams desperation. They are petrified of being relegated and they don't know what the answer is because, and this is the last bit I'll cover on before I go over to you, Joseph. We've gone from Ange Postecoglou's attacking football. We were deemed that wasn't good enough and that we had to go to a pragmatic style. We went to Mr. Pragmatic himself in Thomas Frank. That wasn't good enough. So then on our next manager search, we were looking at Sean Dyche's defensive football and Roberto De Zerbi's attacking football during a management search. So clearly the alignment of the club, they don't know what they want. They have no clear idea of identity or playing style of what they want. They just want someone in there that can get them through today and deal with the problems tomorrow. And as I've said time and time again on this podcast and others, with this ownership, tomorrow never comes. And by I mean is we'll deal with it tomorrow, but we actually won't. With them, tomorrow never comes. They just want to get through now, stay in the Premier League and keep that £600 million revenue coming in. There's no alignment. And this management search shows that you've got two complete opposites on the scale and you somehow think that this is the right way about going. about bringing a new manager into a football club. In my opinion, you have a vision for your club, no matter what that is. That might be defensive minded, that might be counter-attacking, it might be attacking. Whatever that is, you stick with that as a football club and you build players, you recruit players, build your academy and your management structure around that alignment. You don't keep flip-flopping between different. Because at the moment, we've got a squad full of the last 4 or 5 managers, squad players that are, some are good for defensive, some are attacking, some don't really know what they are, some are just runners. Conor Gallagher, for instance. We aren't going to get anywhere without having a full alignment change from the very top. Does that happen with Roberto De Zerbi? No, in my opinion, because I think and I feel he is a time bomb waiting to go off, and I think that'll go off within the next 12 months. I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I'd love nothing more than someone to come in, completely change everything, bring attacking flair, style to the club, and I'll start winning things consistently and going back up the table. But I don't know what the obsession with him is. I don't know why we're going to make him the 3rd highest paid manager in the Premier League. He hasn't done anything near for me to do that, as I didn't think Thomas Frank. I like Thomas Frank, but I don't think he was worth £8 million a year coming off of 2. But that's my opinion. Joseph, going to come on to you about the impending appointment, which seems to be getting ever closer, of Roberto De Zerbi.
Yes, I think there's a lot really to discuss with it, to be honest. I think in general, I'm not completely for it. I don't think he would be a bad Tottenham manager in other circumstances. I like his style of football. I think it actually does match with what Tottenham should want to do. You know, playing that 4-2-3-1, I think it suits a lot of the players we have. It suits the kind of style of football we want to see. That's what we got really under Pochettino. His kind of style of football was quite fluid and attacking, and that's what we'll see with De Zerbi. I think the problem I've got is that right now we don't care about what the football is. Right now, it's all about picking up points and about staying in the league. That's why I don't think it probably is the right manager, because we're going into 7 games after the season. He's going to want to implement his style of play with these players, try and get them playing in the right system. Right now, it's just about picking up points however you need it. And, you know, it is, I mean, whoever came in, it would have been tough to see where we're going to pick up points. But just with this style of play and how he's going to want to play, I know I find it quite hard to see him picking up those points. Now, I actually quite like his passion. I do like that fire. I feel like he's one of those managers, the same we have with players. When things are going well, you love them. When things are going badly, you're going to absolutely hate him. And I mean, for Tottenham, it seems like things go a lot worse than good. You know, whenever there's a chance that things will turn, it will go badly. So it is worrying. I do agree with you, Gary. I think it is a ticking time bomb. I think that at some point he will blow up and he will say the club is this, that, and the other, and the ownership are crap and everything like that. And to be fair, he'll probably be right on everything. He'll probably be right about it all. And I think a lot of fans will agree with him. It's just the fact is when you're the manager of that team, it's not the best thing for him to say. But look, I mean, I don't love everything he's done in the past. You know, I don't. At Marseille, I think he was a bit of a mess, a bit of a shambles of a manager, to be honest, in a lot of ways. And yeah, I can't say I'm really looking forward to it, because I'm not. I'm not looking forward to it. I think Pochettino was a bit of a tap-in. I don't know why Tottenham either didn't do everything they could to get him right now. If they desperately wanted a permanent manager right now, you do everything you can to get Pochettino in. Like you said, Gary, at the start of the podcast, you know, USA got booed off at halftime against, was it Belgium in the friendlies? I don't think. I mean, you know, I heard someone say this before. If Pochettino wasn't a manager of USA right now and he was given 2 options to manage USA or Tottenham, he is jumping at Tottenham every single time. He is not picking USA once in that situation. So, you know, I think you should have done everything you can to get him in. But if it is impossible and they really do want a permanent, you know, manager to come in, yeah, okay, maybe it makes sense to get De Zerbi. The one thing I do find a bit confusing, though, is they could have got De Zerbi in after Frank left. He was an option then. He wasn't managing a team then, but we didn't go for him. Now, I know there's this kind of thing where
the reports are we did, but he turned us down, and now we've thrown more and more money at him to get him in, which is include a bumper bonus or maybe even a break clause if we did go down, which I'll come on to in a minute. But by all reports, they did want him.
I can't see it going well. I can just see it going really poorly. I mean, look, again, like you said, Gary, I hope I'm wrong. I can see more in De Zerbi's football than I did in Tudor's football. So I feel a lot more confident with the actual football going into next season if we were to stay up. The way that De Zerbi plays, I really do think fits Tottenham. And again, I think if things go well, the fans will love him. The fans will absolutely love him. He really puts it all on there. Like, I love the managers that show the energy when they're on the touchline. You know, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you do want a cool head, but sometimes when things are going badly and you saw Tudor and you saw Frank just sitting there and just not saying a word, and you're just like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? I love that energy from managers. I love that passion. It's just, if things go poorly, that passion and that energy, I mean, he's Italian, you know, they're known for being passionate. That's what they're like. And, you know, my girlfriend said this because, you know, she's a big fan of football. She watches a lot of football. And she said, De Zerbi, again, hot-headed, passionate manager who, yeah, he has played some good football and there is definitely positives to see. But again, like Conte and like a lot of Italian managers, like Spalletti, it can blow up so quickly. And at Tottenham, it feels like we are just, you know, we're just kindling and we're just ready for you know, to create those situations. So it's tough to see it going positively.
You brought it really well where you said he would probably work in a different situation, and I would agree with you, because at the moment what I think the club really needs is stability. We need somebody that come in, can settle things down, has maybe got a relationship or is well known as someone where we go, actually plays good football, he can develop players, can work within a tight situation. Because let's be completely honest with it, the ownership aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and stability is the biggest thing. And there obviously it was a tap in to bring Maurizio back. It's not happening by all accounts, so we have to move on. And I'm obviously the leader of the Maurizio Pochettino fan club, so it hurts me more than most. But we needed that stability, and my issue is I just don't see him bringing that stability in. If the reports are true, there's a break clause that if we get relegated, it goes anyway. It screams that of desperation from the Chuckle brothers.
Yeah, totally agree with you there, Gaz. It's desperation for them. Obviously, they did try and approach him after Frank left, but he wanted time off. And now I think the only way they're getting him in is by, like you said earlier, is chucking extra money at him, chucking a clause in to leave the club if we get relegated. I did hear possibly he's going to have a big bonus if we stay up. It does scream desperation, and I'm worried because he's very expansive, plays very expansive football. I don't think where we are at the moment, we need that. I just think, like you said, we need some stability. He would be ideal to come in the summer for next season if we stayed in the Premier League. But what we want now is we want to be scraping wins. We want to be winning 1-0. We don't want to be conceding many goals. But, I mean, his teams, you know, they can score a few, but they can concede a few as well. And, yeah, I'm, me personally, a little worried, but I'll be 100% behind him if he comes in because, as I said earlier, it's the club that's most important to me, not who's in the management role or anything like that. But the reason why he left Brighton was because they had a disagreement on transfers and stuff, and he was wanting them to go against their data-driven model and stuff, and he wanted them to go for the ready-made player.
Which Tottenham don't do.
Basically come to us and we do exactly the same as Brighton. So
and we don't go
look like it's a ticking time bomb waiting to go off, to be honest, unless they realise what a mistake this season has been and they change their ways in the summer. But I think we could all, 5 of us could agree that we can't see that happening, can we?
No, we can't see it happening, but they keep saying they're going to do it. But again, proof is in the pudding. Phil, there's still a likelihood of us even being relegated with this appointment. It isn't a guarantee that we're not going to. There's still quite a higher chance of that. For you, do you see Roberto De Zerbi staying in the stay managing us in the Championship?
Can't see it, really. Can't see it happening. It'd be weird if we would hire him and then he's got a break clause and he just leaves then in 7 games' time. It would be a very strange setup. I can't see him sticking around, to be honest. Unless if he's randomly up for the biggest challenge ever and something else, and he's been offered so much money that, you know, even if he gets relegated, he's still kind of on that big salary or something. But yeah, and I mean, under normal circumstances, I mean, he's been linked with United, hasn't he, quite a bit recently as well. Assuming United don't give Carrick the permanent role. There's been other bigger teams interested in him as well. I know Maresca's been linked with Man City, hasn't he, a lot, but I know De Zerbi were interested in Man City as well for a while. You know, there's going to be clubs interested in him. I can't see it happening, but we don't know what the agreement would be, you know, in terms of his contract and everything else. That's something we'll have to hopefully not deal with and hopefully not discuss. I'm trying to kind of get all, you know, realistic images of relegation out of my mind to not get too negative about it, because, you know, I can just see us kind of getting on the club coach up to Lincoln City, you know, things like that, right? Which is tough, right, for a league game. You know what I mean? Like, you know, on a Saturday.
And it's going to be everybody's cup final.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't get. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't get out of the Championship in the first season. I don't think. I know we've got more chance out of the playoffs and stuff now, but going up to 8 teams. But every single team would be even more motivated to beat us. It'd be like an FA Cup, you know, 3rd round, wouldn't it? Away somewhere, like literally every game. But I'm just trying not to think about that at the moment. And, you know, with regards to De Zerbi as a whole, like, I mean, I'm on the same page as all of you, really. I don't think he would have been in my first, let's say, in my top 3 or 4 choices. I would have preferred to have still got some kind of club legend or club affiliated solution. And now I think, you know, Ryan Mason, Chris Hughton, you know, Jermaine Defoe would have been in that mix as well, but he's gone to Woking. Good luck to him. That's a really good move for him. As manager, hasn't he? He's gone there.
Really shows our expectations, though. The fact that a Woking manager, and we were like, yeah, go on then, let's get Jermaine Defoe in.
Yeah,
well,
I would have took him.
But that's
what we were getting, really.
But the thing is, though, that is a proper coaching staff down there, because you've got Paul Bracewell, who's his assistant, and then you've got Defoe leading it. So it's like Wayne Burnett's team has just gone and migrated down to Woking, and that would probably excite us. But instead,
they want to get off the sinking ship.
Well, Woking and their car park is much better than Tottenham and our underground Sainsbury's. Let's put it that way.
I might go Woking this season. Let's have a little look.
That's a bit of a yob, mate, even for us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's true.
I think the one thing to think, like, or at least one thing that I'll consider, because I've, you know, again, I didn't think Igor Tudor was the right manager, but I think, again, as much as we can say that he did do some things wrong, a lot of blame just needs to be put on the players for not turning up and not giving 100%. Enough. And I think that's why part of me doesn't really like, you know, my friend asked me a couple of days ago, oh, it looks like it might be De Zerbi coming in. What do you think? I said, I don't care. And I know, like, obviously it should matter somewhat. I don't think it does matter so much if the players don't try and turn up and do something. And at the moment, I have no confidence they're going to do that.
Do you think it doesn't care right now rather than the summer? Because I think the summer should be different.
Like I said, I think in the summer, if we stay up, I think De Zerbi could work. I think there's a chance that things could go well going into next season if we kind of reset somewhat and we somehow find ourselves in a better place in the league next year. I'm not saying we're going to be pushing for Europe, but at least stable. And if we go out and
the good thing is we won't have Europe. That is a great.
Yeah.
I think that is a good thing for us not having Europe. Phil, do you think though in the summer that the ownership are even going to remotely back
Well,
it, or is it going to be, well, we didn't perform very well in the league and we didn't get Champions League, so we don't have as much money to spend?
The thing is, and this is a complicated one because we obviously still got our two, what do you call them, the Chuckle Brothers? It's me to you, whatever.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah,
we all hope that they're going to get fired in the summer, right? And I would certainly.
It's been shared with me that one of them is going.
Yeah, one of them will go. We hope both.
Is that Johan Langer? It's got to be him, right?
It's got to be.
I can't say publicly who the name is.
both are under review, apparently, though.
Yeah,
in some
both are under review. Both should be gone. There shouldn't be any review. Review is you failed at your job and we're about to get relegated. That's the review.
They're being reviewed by VAR, and we know how long that takes. So I mean, even the PMGOL released a statement. Oh, we're sorry, but we didn't get this one right either. They're just like the Spurs board in itself.
Right, let Phil finish his.
If we get relegated, then I'm pretty sure that they'll both go. But if we stay up, it wouldn't surprise me if Vinay hangs on. Like, he's been there a season, he should go, but it wouldn't surprise me if, he's going to put a lot of blame on Levy. He's going to talk about the fact he's only been there 9 months. I know he's made mistakes with Thomas Frank and everything else, but wouldn't surprise me if the ownership, if they give him the opportunity to stay longer. That just wouldn't surprise me, even though it'll be the wrong decision. I think with Zerbi, look, the thing about Zerbi is he wasn't on my top 3 or 4 list, right? And I would have preferred a different option. But actually, if he comes in now on a permanent hire, and if let's assume that we stay up, then I do think it could end up being I don't want to say it's going to end up being a masterclass appointment or something, right? Because anyways, I don't trust the people that are making this appointment. But Zerbi is a very, very highly rated manager. If you just look at his way of playing football, we know that he's got challenges probably around his mentality, around, the way that he talks to players, or, the way that he coaches, right, and all of that. But he gets players on board. He's managed to get players to follow him, certainly in his first seasons, right? Finished 2nd with Marseille. He finished 6th with Brighton. He had a good run in the Europa League. His players were on board with him. And I do think that, obviously Tottenham is a bit of a weird one because, he's the kind of guy who's going to lose his rag and do a Conte. That's what we all think. But maybe, just maybe, bearing in mind that the new ownership, or 2.0, whatever we want to call them, they've only had the January transfer window where obviously it didn't work out, right? But I probably blame that more on Vinay and Lange rather than the money makers up top. And I know that if they're getting into Zerbi now, along with his nice package he's getting, I know they're going to promise signings in the summer. But this is probably, again, a summer where we just cannot afford to not make those incoming. We just cannot not afford to do it. And all the fans, we all know where we are at the moment. We all know the amount of protests that are probably coming our way, potentially even if we do stay up. Right, there's going to be a lot of talk about the ownership again. I think that they will invest. I've got a feeling if they confirm Zerbi on a 5-year deal now, that there's going to be a certain amount of money spent in the summer. And I think that, bearing in mind the way that he plays football, the way that he may try and rebuild that squad in his form, he'd probably ship out quite a lot of players with his, ruthless style, which he's done at other clubs as well. Maybe, just maybe, this could actually be a really good appointment. Again, not my first choice, right? I know there's people that don't like him. I've got my reservations about him, right? In the background, absolutely. Also from a personal perspective in terms of how he is, right? And some of the things he said in the past, right? We're not going to go into that in detail. But from a footballing perspective, he's a very good manager who I believe has not reached anywhere near kind of where he's going to get in the end in his footballing managing career. I see him going somewhere else. If it's not Tottenham, I think he will end up going somewhere else. and winning quite a lot of trophies. I don't know where that might be, but I think that his career has still got a long way to go. And there's just something I've been thinking about today, analysing, do a lot of research, seeing both sides of the coin. This is all based on us staying up, of course. But if we stay up, I can see him kind of rebuilding the team. And yeah, he may blow up. He may leave after 12 months. But if we stay up, the cost of sacking him is going to be a lot less than the cost of relegation would have been. And you know what? Then we go and hire someone else, right? And we move on again. But at least we tried it. And I can understand the reasoning for going for someone like Zerbi now on a permanent move, rather than getting in, a Tottenham-related kind of team that is unproven, probably. Even a Chris Hughton hasn't managed properly, right, in England for a number of years. And Sean Dyche, there's no guarantees with a Sean Dyche. There's no guarantee with any manager they're going to keep us up at the moment.
Well,
do we want to commit to someone like? But I'm just saying,
he's still in the bloody pub at the moment, by the sounds of it, ain't he? After that person cornered the boss,
he's on his 35th Guinness, right? Like literally right now. But if we gave someone like Sean Dyche a long-term contract because he was interested in a long-term one, like okay. That's not Tottenham, though, is it? That really is going away from this defensive or staying with this defensive DNA. De Zerbi plays Tottenham football. He plays Ange-Paul, really.
His style of play, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like,
style of plays there.
I'm not
my worry is the blow up. My worry is the blow up that's going to happen. It's going to come. I just don't want to keep going through this constant rinse and repeat.
Gary, maybe
to be fair, though, Gary,
even if we got
if we stay up. If we stay up, I don't care about a blow up at some point.
Yeah,
exactly.
If we stay up, like, don't get me wrong, because I completely agree with you on a lot of what you said with De Zerbi, and the blow up will be frustrating and upsetting and just not needed. And it just, again, it's what Tottenham are. It's what we've always seemed to be. But right now we're in a position I never thought I would ever see my club in. Like so far from my lifetime of watching Tottenham, at least from what I can remember, I've never seen Tottenham in this spot ever. And I can't believe we're in this spot. So if he can keep us up, by all means, I don't care if he blows up in 6 months and calls out the club and saying we're Tim. I don't care if we stay up. Because I think some people have kind of said, we could have a year. And I think I've probably even said it. We could have a year in the Championship. It won't be that bad. It will be that bad. The amount of money the club will lose will be that bad. It genuinely could absolutely ruin us. I don't think people realise how much it could ruin us if we get relegated. We need to do everything we possibly can to stay up. So if they believe that he can do it, then we've got to try. But yeah, like I think all of us are feeling it. The clowns at the top of this club are an utter embarrassment. They need to go. They have to go. At the end of this year, they've got to go. There needs to be an absolute massive clear out in terms of the sporting director, realistically the CEO. I want Vinay to go. And then, from there on, you've got to see who comes in. You need to establish, just go take all of Brighton's ones or all of Brentford's. Go take them all and just bring them here and get them, with a better budget, with more money to go and do what they do best and create a footballing entity, not this commercial, just none of that. Get us footballers and get us playing good football and get us into the right position again.
Yeah, I agree. Just to put a bow on things that's rumours, because let's be fair, Roberto De Zerbi is probably going to be the guy that's come in. Mauricio Pochettino was asked today in his press conference leading up to tomorrow's game against Portugal. He was asked if there was been any... he's asked about the Tottenham links. He said, no one has approached me, but who knows what is going to happen. He did, again, play down the situation of, I'm very much focused on the US national team, and we'll see how things go in the summer. The reality is we could be on to our 5th manager in a year in the summer if this doesn't work out with De Zerbi. I do want to ask everyone just a quick question. Don't want to spend too much time on it. Who's going to be, Carl, who's going to be the player that performs the best under Roberto De Zerbi, and who's going to struggle? Because I'm going to be very interested to see Christian Romero and Roberto De Zerbi's relationship in these final 7 games. I must admit, I'm quite interested to see how that goes.
Well, I mean, Romero seems to have had like a really weird relationship with the like most recent managers, hasn't he? Sort of thing. So you're definitely not wrong. I think they'd probably have a headbutting match of who's got the bigger ego out of the two of them. But I think maybe Solanke could be one of the standouts under him. To be honest, I think his style of play sort of suits where De Zerbi is. Someone who maybe could struggle. I think it's quite the obvious ones, to be honest. Probably Dragusin, Basuma, people like that, to be honest. I mean, knowing my luck,
Basuma
Basuma,
play under him? Did
I'm
Basuma
not
play under him?
sure, actually. I think it was under Potter
Him,
that Basuma played under, I think, wasn't it?
I think he left that summer, didn't he? He left the summer that De Zerbi came. I got a feeling.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, probably people like Solanke, Tel Gray. I mean, obviously, De Zerbi likes high energy players, doesn't he? Who give sort of everything for the badge. So our more lazier contingent or our maybe flair players as well I reckon Simmons could struggle, to be honest, as well. He doesn't really have that I haven't seen from what games De Zerbi has played of having really many 10s in there. Realistically, he sort of liked his wing back style or having players who create from wide, not through the centre, really.
Yeah, Joseph, who do you think's gonna flourish under him? Who might struggle?
From everything I see of De Zerbi and how he plays, he likes fluidity. He doesn't really stick to the like players don't stay in positions. You know, you see fullbacks either overlapping or they could come inside. You see midfield, you see defenders moving up forward. I think Romero could do quite well if he's given the freedom to kind of, you know, with his range of passing, how he can move into midfield. I think he'd do well. I think Archie Gray as well would fit the system well because he can kind of, let's say Romero starts moving forward through midfield. You've then got Archie Gray can drop in and into that back four. So, yeah, I think, you know, the football style of it, I actually like. It's just, again, right now, are we in the right situation to be able to explore playing this expansive football? Not really. You know, we've got to just grind out results and get points. And it's feeling, is he going to be able to do that? So I'll tell you one thing as well. I know this is a bit off topic, but I don't know if anyone's watched James Maddison's video, but he is captain material. He's got to be the captain of Tottenham next. 100%. Everything he is and everything he does, he screams the captain that Tottenham need. This person who's going to really, you know, he seems to love the club. He seems to really, you know, put his arm around the players around him, but also have a level of, you know, professionalism that he expects a level. But he's happy to try and guide players there and to help them get there. But there is an expectation there. And I think he'd be absolutely perfect. He seems like an unbelievable guy. So just, again, I wish he was back sooner. I don't think he's going to be back this season, personally. From what I'm, you know, we've only got 7 games left, and I don't think he's ready to start playing football yet. I know some people have been saying, "Oh, well, look at him play." Well, he was running 6-7K, and you know, and his knee was starting to, you know, in a game you've got to run 10, 12, 15K, and you know he's not going to be able to last. So, and it's a whole different thing of being able to go on the pitch and kick the ball around, and then also being able to do that in a Premier League intense match. So, I don't think we'll see him, but I wish he would be back because I think he'd be integral.
Yeah, absolutely. So, who's going to struggle? Who may flourish?
I agree with Carl. I think Solanke, because of his link-up play, will do really well under De Zerbi because he likes to play the one up front. Also, Kudus, I think, could do quite well because he likes his wingers. I think he had a Brighton, didn't he have Matoma? That was on the left wing, and he came on really well under De Zerbi. And Van der Ven, if we can keep him, especially because with his high-risk football he plays, with his pace at the back to cover, would be, you know, something we definitely want to keep. The only one I can really think it would struggle off my head would be Richarlison. I think could struggle under him. Because, as I said, he hasn't really got that link-up play. Doesn't hold the ball up right, does he? So, yeah, I think he'd struggle a lot under De Zerbi. But I do expect him to be moving on in the summer, to be fair, anyhow.
Yeah, I agree with you. Finally, Phil, who do you think is going to struggle but may flourish under De Zerbi?
I think with the flourishers, I'd like to think that some of the Italian crew will just get a bit of an uplift just because of that, right? Because of the cultural connection and the language, even if that means Big Vic, assuming he comes back quick from his surgery and stuff now, but maybe that gives him a bit of a boost, like 10%, 15%. Thing is, though, longer term, like with De Zerbi's way of playing, it's a coffin in the nail for Vicario anyways in the summer, right? Because De Zerbi requires even more of a ball-playing goalkeeper, right, than even Angel or any of these people wanted, right? Because he loves to build out and invite that press from the back. But look, in the short term, maybe he gets a boost out of it. Dogi, obviously. I think Romero will have a good connection with De Zerbi. I know they're two kind of alpha, loud, right? Demanding kind of players, right? But they speak Italian as well. Romero speaks fluent Italian from his time in Italy. I hope that they can connect maybe because Romero is clearly going to remain captain, right? We assume,
De Zerbi's quite a small guy, isn't he?
Games. Yeah, he's
Zerbi's
not
quite
big.
short.
Yeah, he's quite short.
Imagine him can you imagine him walking up to Romero like, listen here, you twat. You need to do this, you need to do that, and Romero just standing there like, what are you saying?
I think they'll clash.
No.
I do.
Yeah, I've got feeling.
See a little video of Romero knocking him out, just see it through the window.
I think they're going to clash.
I think it depends. I think it depends a bit on respect on the respect that someone like Romero or some of these players are going to give De Zerbi. Is he going to command respect amongst the players potentially? Unlike obviously Frank didn't. Igor Tudor probably hasn't at the end of the day, right? Really.
Has De Zerbi won a trophy at all? No.
The thing is I think the thing is with De Zerbi, it's like you're saying, Phil. I think he will command respect, but it won't be through achievements. It'll be through fear, and that is one of my main. I know we're not covering him directly, but that's one of my main concerns from how it's been previously. He does have a way of polarizing opinions, doesn't he? He can either burn down a dressing room or can join a dressing room. There's no real in between. It's either everyone's on board or, like how he left with Brighton, he burned everything down. And that's where it comes back to the Conte 2.0 theory.
That's why I'm so cautious because of that. But equally, obviously, that he hasn't won anything, and in a way, I kind of don't. It doesn't matter because we are so far away from winning anything. Doesn't matter. I'm quite happy to grow with somebody. It's just this volatileness that's gonna implode, and I just don't think we need it. I don't think that we need to keep going through this every 18 months.
Gary, can I just say, in terms of the short term now in the next 7 games, I know we've said before that we kind of think maybe we need a manager to come in who's going to put his arm around the players, and do one-to-ones with each player and, remind them of the importance of the club and make them feel better and all this kind of thing. That's all well and good. But like the thing about De Zerbi is actually he's probably the most hands-on manager that I've seen out of, if you compare him to any of our managers that we've had over the last X amount of years, in terms of him actually being on the training pitch. Like he gets involved, right, in all of the training moves. He's like joining in all of the training sessions. There's like clips of him like tackling players and stuff, to kind of like wake them up and stuff like this, right? But a lot of the players, under Frank, they didn't like the fact that they were spending a lot of time on tactics theoretically, but obviously it was to negate the opposition each time, to try and come up with solutions to stop the opposition playing. But Thomas Frank wouldn't do that himself. He wouldn't be on the pitch with the players. He would delegate it. And he didn't really speak to the players that much in the end, as we heard. De Zerbi, he will be out there with the players, living it, 100%, right? From the moment he gets appointed, every day, And if he does that and he gets straight into these players and starts working on hopefully trying to sort this, shit show of a defense out and goalkeeper, right? Just to try and avoid giving away so many gifts, but also just trying little tactical moves, getting like some of these little passing triangles going. Obviously, we don't need his tactics to kick in for these last 7 games, but if he's really out there, hands-on and living and breathing and giving these players the energy, maybe that is actually what we need. Like maybe that could work. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure that like we've got what is going to work at the moment. None of us know, do we? Really?
I don't think going too in depth with stuff now is the answer. I think going as simple as you can and install some relevance to that. This is where I want things to be going. This is the setup I want, and then working with it. Because he's not going to have long to implement that. But the good part of that is that he plays more of a 4-2-4 or 4-2-3-1. That's the kind of formation he plays, and they traditionally have been playing that. So it could work. Just to correct earlier mistake, Roberto Zerbi has won 1 trophy. He won the Ukrainian Super Cup, which is essentially our charity shield, and he did finish top of the Ukrainian league with Shakhtar, but that was the season that was cancelled due to war, so there wasn't actually determined. Other key achievements: he's the first Italian manager to obviously win the Ukrainian Super Cup. He led Sassuolo to consecutive high-placed finishes in Serie A, and he led Brighton to their first ever European qualifications. That is his success in terms of a CV. But look, done more than Thomas Frank, and we're all very excited about Thomas Frank. So let's take that for what it is. Just before we do go, there is just under 1,700 of you watching at the moment, which we do really appreciate. We haven't been on for a week due to me being ill, but we do appreciate you joining us. The 5 of us back together again feels nice. I feel like I haven't had a therapy session in a few weeks, and I can't just keep shouting at Callum on WhatsApp. So it's been nice. But Cal, it is going to be Roberto De Zerbi. It seems to be the here we go is coming. I assume that it's going to be announced either tonight or it'll be first thing tomorrow. But, and I hope I speak for all of you, and please tell me if I don't, everything that's going on surrounding what he's said and what he's done and who he's stuck up for and all these things. At the moment, as I said, the most important thing is Tottenham Hotspur as a football club.
Yeah.
He isn't my first choice, not my second, not my third. He probably wouldn't be in my top 10, but I was here before him and I'll be here after him. The club means more to me than any one individual. So I'm going to fully get behind whoever is in the dugout. I'm going to give all of my efforts and energy about supporting the players as I do anyway, and trying to drag them over the line and stay in the Premier League. But Cal, just coming to you, Sunderland is our next game. Sunderland have been a bit hit and miss. They got obviously a great result in the derby against Newcastle. But could this be the new manager bounce that we thought Igor Tudor was going to bring us, or is it maybe a little bit too soon? Because he's going to have 10 days with them, and that's quite a long time.
As we know, he's a lot more pragmatic, a lot more deserved towards looking at squads compared to Igor Tudor with the way that he reacts. He needs time to review that. There obviously have been clips that we have seen in the past where he has directly handed out P45s on the training pitch as well to certain individuals. So I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of people maybe are relegated to the under-21s straight away when he comes in, which I think is some of the tough love we do need. It is probably too early to expect too much. But if we're being honest, like what we said earlier, that Leeds, Wolves are where we need the points. Probably Sunderland is the closest to that as well in terms of ranking, apart from the Everton game, because we do have Chelsea away, we have Villa away as well. So
Brighton
if we can, that's going to be That's actually going to be a big one for him, to be honest.
Herzl is struggling as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Herzl is a bit on the ropes at the moment.
There's been a lot of calls over Herzl. There's been a lot of people I've spoken to around Brighton about Zerbi as well, and there's a lot of hatred towards him, not from the fans, but more from internal working people as well. Tony Bloom obviously doesn't have the best opinion of him as well, but that will mean a lot to him if that's I think that's his second game, isn't it, in charge? So probably a lot of impact will be more towards, I think, that game compared to this one. But if we're being honest, we want to see something on, I believe, the 12th of April. We hope that with the players coming back, like you say, and going back to the Maddison clip earlier, that a lot of the players that have been at the training ground are training under Bruno Salter. We've seen Sousa with the team. We've seen Richarlison. We've seen Luca Williams-Barnett. We've got even outer squad youngsters and fringe players coming back from injury now as well. So he will be going towards a more well-rounded squad by then. So hopefully he will have options available to be able to sort of put together his training sessions. Whether he'll achieve it in one go, I don't know. Yeah. But like you've all said, we'll back the manager. But it doesn't matter about personal preference. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's personal preference or not. We don't pay the Spurs wages that they're going to pay him. We don't make club decisions. We just have to back the manager, no matter whether we like it or not.
And the thing is, it's a personal opinion, isn't it? Like, I'm more than happy to have my opinion changed. It doesn't mean that people. I mean, I've been attacked all day long for it, but it is what it is. I don't really care because
we're happy to be proven wrong, aren't we?
Yeah,
that's what being
also,
human is.
But also, like, their opinion of me is not my opinion of me, so it's irrelevant at the end of the day. But I'm happy to have that changed. I just don't see the appeal of him as things stand. If he comes in and absolutely blows...
Don't cry down WhatsApp at me when it goes wrong and all that, because then I'll say that you was wrong.
It's not going to go wrong because I don't think this is the right appointment. So it can only go right, or I can just be like Joseph and say, well, Joseph hasn't done it, but he could just go, I told you so. But I'm not going to be like that. But just to clear up the remaining fixtures, because I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't fill me with confidence, and I'm really hoping I'm wrong. Obviously, we've got Sunderland coming up on 12th of April. Then it is Brighton at home. I didn't even consider that when I was thinking a minute ago that how big a fixture that might be for him. He's going to want to get a win in that. We have to beat Wolves away the following game. Then we're away at Villa, at home to Leeds, at home to Chelsea, and at home to Everton.
Is it away against Chelsea, Gaz?
Away to Chelsea, sorry, yeah.
We're relying on other teams to slip up still, aren't we, as well? Because of that Forest result, we would have been ahead, but it doesn't count now. We are level with West Ham, and we're relying on Forest to slip up.
So we got 1 point more than West Ham, haven't we?
Yeah,
right now.
1 point.
Well, I think by the time we play Sunderland, they'll probably would have beaten Wolves. Let's be honest, like West Ham will beat Wolves in that game.
Yeah.
And we will be in the relegation zone.
So we've got to get a result against Sunderland, and then the other games. We just have to win our home games. We have to win the home games, and we have to win away at Wolves, and I think we'll be okay. So that's 4 games out of 7, and we haven't won one this calendar year. One thing I do want to add is actually, I'm pretty sure Sandro will be part of the coaching staff for Roberto De Zerbi. Him and Roberto De Zerbi are very, very close. So that might be something that will come out. They're very, very close. That some information was shared with me a couple of weeks ago, actually, that they are very close. And Joseph, Sunderland, win or draw? Personally, I think it's going to be a draw.
I think we'll lose.
I
don't know. Sorry? I just think Sunderland. I mean, they're coming off obviously a big result away at Newcastle. I think the atmosphere will be amazing for Sunderland. Again, coming off of that result, away at Newcastle, that's probably their biggest game of the season. They've beaten them twice this year, and getting that last-minute winner. I just think they have absolute solidity throughout their team. I think Brian Brobby's been really good this season. I'm really impressed with him. He'd be a player that I'd actually quite like it's Spurs at some point, but I can't expect a manager to come in and to get a tune out of this squad when it doesn't feel like anybody's been able to get a tune out of this squad for months. So I think Sunderland will win the game quite comfortably, to be honest. And I think it's about trying to get something in place for that Brighton game, because on the other hand, Brighton have not been consistent. They have been quite poor. And, you know, there's a chance that they definitely can't, no, they might not turn up, and we could possibly get something from that. But I find it tough to see. Then again, though, I didn't think we'd have a chance against Liverpool, and we ended up drawing that game. So, yeah, again, hope I'm wrong and hope we can get something, but I can't expect it.
Yeah. Si, for you?
I think we could get a point, guys, from the Sunderland game. We've got Kudus coming back as well. Is apparently going to be back for that game. So, yeah, I've got it. I know a few of you guys have sort of accepted that we may go down. I just can't. I can't give in. I don't think us as fans should give in, because we'd criticise the players straight away if they gave in. So us as fans, we just can't give in. We've got to keep pushing the team and pushing them as much as we can to give them that edge to survive in the Premier League this season. Really.
No, I agree. Just finishing with you then, Phil, quickly. Expectations for Sunderland? Win, draw, loss?
I think that we will see a bit of a proper bump, new manager boost with Zerbi coming in and having a few days with the players. I think that will get a bump that we didn't see with Tudor. I think we'll get at least a point. I'm gonna be positive and predict a win at Sunderland. I think we might actually see it. I've got a feeling. I got a weird feeling. I think we're going to get a bump, and I think we might get a really good performance, and we'll score at least 2 goals. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 against Sunderland. I've got a feeling.
I'll take that all day long. So there is just under 1,800 of you, which is fantastic. I think it's been a week. It's been at least a week since we've done one of these. It's been a while since the 5 of us have done it together as well, which has been great. So 1,800 of you watching, do appreciate it. If you can give everybody on screen a follow on X, that'd be great, just to help everybody. And all of us are more than happy to interact with people, talk about Tottenham. Just be respectful. If you're just going to keep calling us, I mean, I get it all the time. If you're just going to keep calling, I'm just not going to reply. So just stop wasting your time, quite frankly. But there's sensible people watching this. 1,800 of you are sensible, I'm sure of it. But yeah, give us all a follow. If you wouldn't mind heading over to YouTube, giving Project Spurs a like and subscribe as well, and let your friends know about us. The spelling's at the top left or right of the screen, however you're watching this. We're pretty close to hitting 500. We're a couple hundred off, which I don't think is too bad given we've been doing this for a few months, but love to get us over that 500 mark as quick as possible. We haven't had one for ages. Si, please give me a rally cry as we end our Roberto De Zerbi stream.
Spurs fans, right now it feels tough. Right now it feels like the walls are closing in. But we are Tottenham Hotspur. Get behind the boys. Sing loud. Sing proud. Don't give in.
By order of the Peaky Blinders.
For fuck's sake.